primary focus of this documentary is to delve into the profound impact of Abiy Ahmed's personal beliefs and delusions on an entire nation, shedding light on the tragic consequences that can ensue. This documentary highlights how the leader's strong belief in prosperity gospel, his mother's prophecy, and a cult of positive thinking contributed to the nation's misery. The leader's refusal to confront reality and his avoidance of challenges led to a continuous series of crises, plunging the country into profound suffering. He genuinely believes that he possesses a unique calling to lead the nation, grounded in a deep connection to his mother's prophecy. This unwavering conviction has shaped his leadership style, characterized by a steadfast refusal to entertain opposing viewpoints or confront harsh realities. Furthermore, he is surrounded by a close-knit circle of loyal followers who only serve to reinforce his worldview. Abiy Ahmed's senior advisor has openly admitted to consciously avoiding the term poverty in favor of prosperity, shedding light on Abiy Ahmed's mindset. In a nation where a significant majority, around 70% of the population, lives in poverty, the primary concern should naturally center on poverty reduction. His speeches and actions consistently revolve around these principles, shaping an image of him as a self-help advocate rather than a conventional statesman. This perspective has contributed to the misguided belief that issues will spontaneously or magically vanish if one maintains a positive outlook, encouraging a denial of reality instead of addressing the actual problems at hand. The impact of this approach is compounded by Ethiopia's autocratic one-man rule system, where Abiy's decisions and mindset significantly influence the destiny of 120 million people. Unfortunately, this approach has come at a considerable cost in addressing the nation's harsh realities. His reluctance to confront pressing challenges has perpetuated a ceaseless cycle of crises, pushing the nation into profound suffering.
We also explore how Abiy Ahmed strategically forged connections over several years with both U.S. intelligence agencies and the U.S. evangelical base, highlighting their pivotal roles in his rise to power. Abiy Ahmed's own admission, made in 2022, he openly confessed to engaging in espionage for the United States and declared his unwavering dedication, even to the point of being willing to make the ultimate sacrifice for America.
Many individuals and organizations fervently advocate the power of positive thinking, turning it into a lucrative industry. We must be positive all the time in order to be successful. The flip side to this assumption is that we should never be negative, or else we'll be failing as human beings. This is the movement that says we need to grit our teeth and smile, commit to unshakable optimism, deny difficult facts, and suppress any thoughts or feelings that don't conform to the expectations that the positive belief system demands. Delusions, whether positive or negative, can be dangerous. Believing that our attitude alone can control external events is irrational and disregards the existence of objective reality. Negative thinking, on the other hand, is equally unfounded, as it assumes everything will inevitably go wrong. The positive thinking movement operates as a cult, asserting that all problems stem from a lack of positive mindset. It promotes a form of magical thinking wherein one's thoughts alone can influence the universe to bring wealth and happiness. Anything less is deemed as flawed thinking, leaving individuals isolated and unsupported, denying the existence of an external world. Despite claiming that nothing is impossible, positive thinking stifles dissent and blames those facing adversity. During times of vulnerability, such as job loss or illness, it imposes mandatory cheerfulness, often worsening suffering. It assigns blame for personal struggles to individuals, implying that they failed to harness the positive energy of the cosmos, which is ultimately cruel and unjust. A realistic assessment of the world around us is essential. When we are vigilant and objective in perceiving the reality before us, when we engage in critical questioning and doubt, that's when we truly excel as individuals. It's important to recognize that a healthy dose of negative thinking, in the sense of being critical and cautious, has been instrumental in our species' progress thus far, and it remains crucial for our survival in the future. In other words, a balanced and realistic perspective is a valuable asset for humanity's continued development and prosperity. In the context of Ethiopia, where poverty is a pressing issue, relying solely on positive thinking may not be adequate to address the complex and tangible challenges faced by a large segment of the population. Effective governance requires a more comprehensive approach that includes rational discussions, practical problem solving, and policies grounded in the realities of the nation.
Hey, I'd like to share some of my life experiences, especially for all you young folks out there. I come from a village called Beshashas, where many people live in poverty. Some would ask me about my family, and I'd tell them my parents were poor. However, I never lived in poverty even for a single day. How? The power of imagination. You see, I've always believed in the power of imagination. Sure, my mom didn't have a car, but I never had to walk. With my imagination, I have a car. Every morning, my mom would send me to buy sugar, but I didn't just walk there. No, I'd open an imaginary car door, rev up the engine with my mouth, and make driving sounds all the way to the shop. I'd even pretend to change gears in the middle. At night, I'd imagine that my simple comforter was as good as any fancy sheet. People might have thought I slept on the floor, but in my mind, I was snug in a comfortable bed with a soft sheet.
And my vision of peace is rooted in the philosophy of Madamar. Madamar, an Amharic word, signifies synergy, convergence, and teamwork for a common destiny. Madamar is a homegrown idea that is reflected in our political, social, and economic life. I like to think of Madamar as a social compact for Ethiopians to build a just, egalitarian, democratic, and human society by pulling together.
Dr. Abiy Ahmed's book entitled Madamar has been launched today at the Millennium
Generation Madamar for the diplomatic community, duly authored by His Excellency.
A third book in 5 years or maybe less. So the Prime Minister is really a prolific writer. Yeah, you can't write 3 books and do the job of a Prime Minister. And
upon assuming power, Abiy introduced what he presented as a fresh ideology known as Medema. The Medema ideology was extensively promoted through state-controlled media channels. While in office, Abiy authored numerous books on Medema and exerted pressure on government entities to purchase and endorse his publications. Upon closer examination, Medema ideology largely comprised compiled materials sourced from the prosperity gospel and positive thinking cult. While the concept of Medema may seem appealing, critics argue that it might not effectively address the practical daily challenges and issues faced by Ethiopians. Ethiopia needs a leader with a critical mindset and robust problem-solving abilities, rather than one who is perceived as delusional or disconnected from the everyday realities encountered by the Ethiopian populace. In certain instances, Abiy's advisors have encountered difficulty in providing a coherent explanation of the true essence of Medema, resulting in questions and confusion among journalists and the broader public.
Medema is homegrown idea. We have our differences. We can maintain our differences, but we have common needs. As human beings, We have a common needs because we have to meet our daily.
When we hear this word medemer and people say synergy, what does that really mean, like practically speaking?
Madamar means it's a synergy. It is a system that looks things from holistic point of view.
This idea of synergy, I still don't hear an answer to my question. What does it mean, practically speaking, when we talk about a synergistic approach? I mean,
well, definitely it's more than a slogan. I think you keep asking what Medemer is again and again, but I think
synergy is one of those words that people like to throw around. It's one of those buzzwords that, you know, we can find it in a lot of places in this town, for example. What does it really mean? What does it practically mean? Can you help us try and understand that?
So the synergy is organizing, coordinating all of this in a synchronized way so that we can achieve our destiny of prosperity.
Over the past 5 years, Ethiopia has endured one of the most trying periods in its history, characterized by a series of shocking events that have had profound impacts on the nation. During these moments when Ethiopians have sought strong leadership and moral guidance, Abiy has often been conspicuously absent or even left the nation entirely. Instead of addressing these critical issues, he has chosen to post photos of himself surrounded by flowers, engage in unrelated activities, or make statements that seem disconnected from the seriousness of the situation. These actions appear to be attempts to preserve a positive public image while sidestepping direct engagement with the harsh realities faced by the nation. The prevalence of positive thinking cult as a dominant belief system in the seventh king leadership may contribute to this response. It can lead to a hesitancy to directly acknowledge and address difficult and uncomfortable truths. Rather than taking decisive action on pressing issues such as atrocities, Abiy's adherence to positive thinking lead him to downplay or deny the severity of these problems.
Don't listen to those who say we shouldn't plant trees while people are dying. We should plant trees. At least the deceased will have shade.
Concerning issue here is how Abiy's personal beliefs, coupled with his unchecked authority and autocratic leadership style, are affecting the lives of 120 million Ethiopians during these tumultuous times. The tendency to deny uncomfortable truths or underestimate the potential negative consequences of an overly optimistic perspective is gradually eroding the foundations of Ethiopia. Ethiopia, the 12th most populous country with 120 million people, is facing the looming threat of a catastrophic collapse. This potential crisis has the capacity to ignite a refugee catastrophe surpassing even the scale of World War II, with repercussions extending to the Red Sea corridor. It could exacerbate migration challenges in Europe and the Middle East, while providing opportunities for extremist groups to exploit the resulting instability. Horn of Africa nations would not be immune to the cascading impact of such a collapse. It's worth noting that once a nation falls into chaos, the path to recovery is exceptionally challenging. The gravity of Ethiopia's situation underscores the critical need for prompt and effective international intervention to stop the utter madness of Abiy Ahmed.